Listen, brilliant stuff. Thank you so much, Mo Elathi and Lord Kim Darroch, for being such a brilliant panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Definitely on my high up my list of things I was not expecting this evening. Thank you very much for your company. I'm Lewis Vaughan-Jones. This is BBC News. Bye-bye.
Tuesday for some southern areas, but we start to see more showers from Wednesday onwards
on
as temperatures
BBC
return
iPlayer.
to more typical conditions.
It's the safe bet she'd never let life get her down. She's Mrs. Brown. That's Mrs. Brown. Oh, Mrs. Brown.
On the show tonight, music from Christine and the Queens, comedian Bill Bailey, Top Boys Ashley Waters, actor Catherine Tate, and the man behind Elton John's greatest hits, lyricist Bernie Taupin. Tonight, 10:40, BBC One and iPlayer.
The BBC News at 10 now with Clive, Myrie.
At 10, victory for Labour in Scotland, with the party describing its win in the Rutherglen and Hamilton West by-election as seismic.
Welcome to Scotland's newest MP, Michael Shanks!
The swing to their candidate, more than a 20% range at the expense of the SNP. But what could the result mean with a general election not too far away? Also tonight, a 36-year-old man from Essex has appeared in court charged with plotting the kidnap and murder of the ITV presenter Holly Willoughby. The United Nations sends investigators to the Ukrainian village where a Russian missile killed more than 50 people. The Nobel Peace Prize goes to a women's rights campaigner who's serving a 10-year prison sentence in Iran.
One flip, two flip, up, full twisting, double back.
And Simone Biles lands her 21st world title, becoming the most decorated gymnast in history.
On Newsnight at 10:30.
On BBC London, hospitalisations for allergies are on the rise and many sufferers don't have allergy pens. Two London experts providing guidance for patients to try and save lives.
UK political map.
Hello there. The turnout was low, a little over 37%. Most voters stayed at home. But the Labour Party is describing its victory in the Rutherglen and Hamilton West by-election as seismic. The party's candidate, Michael Shanks, won over 58% of the vote. That's more than double that of the SNP's Katie Loudon, who came in second. That means the swing to Labour was over 20% from the Scottish National Party. Sir Keir Starmer claims the result is the first step on an important journey. The Conservatives lost their deposit. Chris is here. Caveats, a by-election, a low turnout. What can we really read into this? Sure. OK, Chris, thank you. Chris Mason, our political editor. A man has appeared in court charged with plotting to kidnap and murder the TV presenter Holly Willoughby. Gavin Plum, who's 36 and from Harlow in Essex, was remanded in custody. Ms Willoughby didn't appear on yesterday's edition of This Morning, and ITV says it's providing full support to her and her family at a very distressing time. Here's Charlotte Gallagher. There have been fresh Russian airstrikes on northeastern Ukraine, with one attack, according to a regional governor, killing a 10-year-old boy in the city of Kharkiv. Now, it follows a missile strike yesterday on a village in the same region that killed more than 50 people. The United Nations is now sending investigators to the village of Hroza, 50 miles southeast of Kharkiv, where family and friends of those who died yesterday have been gathering. Here's James Waterhouse. The winner of this year's Nobel Peace Prize is in jail in Iran and unlikely to make the journey to Europe anytime soon to collect her award. Narges Mohammadi has been honoured for her fight against the oppression of women in her country, where she's played a leading role in the campaign against mandatory hijabs. She's now serving multiple sentences in Tehran's notorious Evin prison. Caroline Hawley has that story. The most vulnerable children will be living with the long shadow of the COVID experience for the next 10 or 20 years. Those are the words of the former Children's Commissioner for England. And Longfield was giving evidence to the COVID inquiry. Well, our health correspondent Dominic Hughes joins us now. Dominic, what more did Ms Longfield have to say? OK, Dominic, thank you for that. Dominic Hughes reporting for us there. Now, the ongoing conflict in Syria has slipped from the headlines in recent months, but government forces have now launched a massive bombardment of an area of the country controlled by Islamist rebels. That was in response to a drone attack on a military graduation ceremony yesterday, which killed more than 100 people and was one of the deadliest attacks on the Syrian armed forces in the 12-year-long civil war. The funerals of those who died have been taking place in the city of Homs, as Frank Gardner now explains. Every year, thousands of people in England and Wales are accused of crimes of which they're later acquitted. But while their names may have been cleared, they're often left emotionally and financially devastated. Some of those who stand trial faced allegations that are simply untrue. The latest figures show that of the cases in England and Wales that went to court in the year to March, more than 31,000 defendants pleaded not guilty. Now, of those, around 19,000 were actually found guilty, while nearly 12,500, just under 40%, were acquitted. Now, one of the country's most senior legal figures is calling for more action against those who make false and malicious accusations. Nick Garnett has our special report. Plaid Cymru has opened its annual conference in Aberystwyth, setting out a vision for a new Wales. In his first conference speech as leader, Pryn ap Iorwerth detailed his plan to lay the foundations for an independent Wales, and he hit out at the record of both Labour and the Conservatives. The Green Party have also opened their conference in Brighton. The co-leader, Carla Denyer, says she wants to increase their number of seats in the Commons to 4 at the next election and give renters a legal right to demand landlords insulate their homes. By the end of the weekend, Wilko stores will be no more, with the shutters coming down on a high street presence first established almost 100 years ago. The homewares chain, with around 12,500 workers, went into administration in August. Emma Simpson has been to one branch in Leicester, the city where the brand was founded and where the staff are now saying their goodbyes. Simone Biles has secured her place as the greatest gymnast in history tonight. The American won gold in the women's all-round final at the World Championships in Antwerp. Natalie Perks, what's her in action? The race for space between Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk got a little hotter tonight.
We have ignition and liftoff of the United Launch Alliance.
Yeah, Bezos' Amazon company launched 2 rockets with satellites on board from Cape Canaveral in Florida. The test flights are part of a battle between the two men to provide satellite networks in space that can improve internet communications. Time for a look at all the weather news now. And Ben, astonishing contrasts across the country in the next few days.
Yeah, we don't often see contrasts quite as great as these, Clive. I'm going to talk about some warm weather in a moment, but first, I have to talk about some very wet weather. Some of us saw a lot of rain today. Northwest England was one of the wettest places, but I think through tomorrow it will be Scotland that bears the brunt of the rain. There is a Met Office amber warning in force across parts of central Scotland up into the Southern Highlands. Will it start to feel more like we'd expect in October? Clive.
Astonishing.
Starmer romps home in Rutherglen. Is it sign of a decisive break in Scotland after years of total SNP domination?
Just getting underway there on BBC Two, but the news continues
election.
Here on BBC One with all the news where you are.
On BBC London, advice for severe allergy sufferers as hospitalisations increase significantly.
A 20% swing by-election, and suddenly those 44 SNP Westminster seats look a bit shaky. Does this remove a key roadblock for the opposition in place for nearly 9 years? Or
new figures show that 40% of those hospitalised with a severe allergic reaction were not prescribed an adrenaline pen, which comes as hospital admissions for anaphylactic shock because of food allergies has doubled in the last 20 years. Now, 2 leading allergy doctors have produced guidance for patients in the hope it will raise awareness and save lives.
And what does this say about any path for independence? We'll hear from Labour's party chair from Liverpool as she prepares for conference, and from an MP who was till recently in the SNP. Also tonight, he's not just abandoned his funding for the campaign group Just Stop Oil, he now thinks the time for protest is done. We hear from the Labour-backing eco-entrepreneur, Dale Vince.
They may carry on and do it. I don't know. What I'm saying is I think that will assist the Conservatives in their desperate attempt to get re-elected. It'll be part of the culture war. I'm not going to fund that anymore.
And our political panel will chew over a significant political week and look ahead to next week's Labour and SNP conferences. Good evening. It's advisable not to read too much into a single poll or a single by-election, but the results in Rutherglen and Hamilton West could be one of those moments that change the political weather. Why? Because since 2014, the SNP have crushed Labour in Scottish seats that were once reliable foundations for any chance of a majority. A fundamental blockage of Labour's most common route to Downing Street.